Sorry for my writing, guys. I hope you can read it. My girlfriend will write after this. It's much nicer. Alright, we'll get started. So before I used to start these meetups with kind of a presentation, and I would do various things, history of money, history of cryptocurrency, whatever, but I just found out that everybody knows different things and everybody learns differently, so I just start from scratch and I kind of put this out there. I've been doing this for the past 3 meetups now, and I do enjoy it, and I think everybody benefits from it because we just get straight into questions and answers, because it's just much better that way. Because if I give a presentation, you might not understand everything I mean, so it's just much easier to start from scratch and take it from there. And the reason why I write this, 7 players on the Bitcoin network, it's to give you an idea of the big picture. Everything that has to happen on the Bitcoin network in order for it to make it what it is today. Because traditional money or gold, it doesn't have all of these players on that money system. It's just one group of people controlling the supply of it. So with Bitcoin, it gives anybody a chance to join the network and help improve this new type of money. Because that's, when you break it down, that's what it is. Bitcoin is 2 things. It's a currency and a network. The currency just runs on the network. So in order for Bitcoin to work, all of these players have to work together in consensus. And there's 7. We got users, merchants, miners, nodes, exchanges, Bitcoin wallets, and devs is short for developers. How many here have heard about miners? Okay, quite a good amount. So who wants to try and give a shot at what mining is and the role it plays on the Bitcoin network? Honestly, don't be scared. Like, even if you don't know what it is, just say it and hear what everybody else has to say, and we'll learn better that way. I like to ask, so I kind of know what people are thinking. So you said you had your hand up. What do you think mining is and what it does for the network?
Mining helps produce more bitcoins.
Right? Okay. So he's right about that. Kind of like mining with gold, you have to exert energy to get a reward. So with gold, you would use your physical energy and you would get a reward, but you'd have to keep mining, and it's kind of like a lottery. Like, eventually you get a reward. Now, besides just that, besides just distributing bitcoins, miners also play a role in verifying transactions that happen on the network. So it's kind of 2 parts, but that is the biggest role it has. One of the innovative things about Bitcoin is that it has a scarce amount of bitcoins. So there'll never be more than 21 million bitcoins. It's perfect mathematical scarcity. So you have a digital scarce asset that has never happened before. Now, in 2009, that's when Bitcoin came out, Bitcoin was distributed to the network. So anyone who was on the network and was mining, and the way you mined back then was just with your computer. You use your computer power to try and figure out these computer problems. They were random computer problems, but the more power you had, the better chance you had at getting this reward. So now today, if you think you can just mine on your CPU, you're out to lunch. There's no way you're gonna get any reward back. What you do see nowadays is huge mining farms using massive computational power to get this reward, but it's still a lottery and they're still taking a chance. So in 2009, the reward was 50 Bitcoins. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I have no idea about all this 7 stuff. Like, is there any way you can just start from like what is Bitcoin and how these all 7 elements work together?
Okay. All right. I was just trying to kind of. I wasn't gonna go too much in depth with mining. I just kind of wanted to give an idea of what it is, so then I can start to go through each one and what that one is, and then I know it's hard right now, but just try and like understand what each thing is, and then I'll tie it all together.
If you understand mining, you understand what a Bitcoin is.
That's why it's exactly.
Yeah. So.
It's just like you can visualize gold. You're actually going out in the world mining gold. Just imagine a computer doing that.
So it's more of a physical stock of Bitcoin?
Just,
That's
if you
what
can
it is.
imagine it as a physical stock because it's actually scarce. It's limited in the world. The supply is limited. You can't create. You can't just create Bitcoin out of nothing.
So when you say like 21 million?
Yeah.
So why is that like? Because even let's say gold. Some companies are producing gold, and then next year they will produce more or less, whatever. So it keeps changing. Why is that 21?
Companies aren't producing gold either, right? Because gold is also limited in supply. What is not limited in supply is the printed money, paper money, because government can just print money out of thin air. In fact, you have a piece of paper that says $100. The government can tomorrow say that's $1,000. That's what Bitcoin doesn't do. You can't print more Bitcoin. You have to work to get it. Just like gold, you have to work to get the gold out of the ground. You have to work. The computers have to work to get the gold and Bitcoin out of cryptographic hash, a mathematical equation.
So 21 million. The reason why 21 million, I used to say it was just an arbitrary number, like just to choose a scarce digital asset, because like you were talking about gold, it's scarce, but gold is not actually 100% scarce. We still mine more and more of it each year, and you can also melt it out into other metals. So it's not sound money in that sense. But 21 million, one Bitcoin is divisible into, I think, 1 million decimal places. And if you take that number and compare it to the amount of debt the world has, that's where that number came from. So it's sort of an arbitrary number, but at the same time, it equals the same amount of debt that exists in this world today. So the big thing you just have to understand is that 21 million was just chosen to have a scarce digital asset, and that's never been done before. And you can't, it's not like there's more Bitcoins being mined each year. There's not. There's just mining from what there is. And over half has already been distributed. So that's kind of why you're starting to see the price go up. You have supply and demand. The supply is getting greater and the demand is becoming less. So
can you answer the question why it's scarce?
Why it's scarce? It's to provide incentive for people to. What also, it just makes it. Okay, so I used to talk about why scarcity is important in the history of money, and back in the days when so people used to use like collectibles as money, and the reason why whatever they chose to be a collectible was whatever was scarce in their environment, and the reason why they chose something scarce was so you can't duplicate it. You can't say you pick like tree leaves in the environment. Anyone can just pick a bunch of tree leaves for the benefit of themselves at the expense of everybody else. So you choose something scarce because it's something hard to come by and it's rare. And how would you?
That's a good answer.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Well, if I think about it, why do you want your money to be scarce?
Oh, it can't be copied. Something like that. Another thing.
Why? Why does it matter that money can't be copied?
Oh, so you know it's yours and nobody else's, and it's real. Like it came from a good place as well. It's equivalent value.
Yes.
I think the main reason is just that anything that is scarce has value. For example, your salary. Say you are earning $5,000 and there are a lot of demands on that money. You use it well, but if you can just multiply your money, the value is just not there. It's just like gold that
That's
you're talking about.
That's the problem with the world today. Money that exists in the world today, central banks can just print it out of thin air, so people just spend it like crazy. And that's where you see.
But the central bank, the money has to be backed up by value of goods and services. For example, the third world countries, where they just print money anyhow. I mean, you can take a basket just to carry money that you just buy goods and services that you can put in your pocket. But say in the developed countries, most of those monies, maybe not the US exactly, they are backed up by equivalent value of whatever they want to buy. That's why they limit the amount of money printed. So when it is limited, anything in life at all, you want the good life, you gotta work for it. That's why money is scarce.
So
I hope I'm not
you bring it-
but he was asking that question: why is it scarce? Anything that's scarce tends to have value.
Yeah.
That's just all.
No, perfect. So now, the way Bitcoin stays this way, I think that's what I always find myself talking about is how can it stay scarce? How can it not get co-opted or taken over? So users are just people that use the network. There's nobody forcing them to use the network. It's a voluntary network. Anybody can join. And then you have merchants who are just people selling goods and services. There aren't a lot of merchants right now that allow you to pay for their goods and services with Bitcoin. At the beginning, it was something I wanted to see happen, but once I started to do my homework, I just realized if Bitcoin isn't at that stage, there's three functions of money, and they go in this order. It's store of value, medium of exchange, and then unit of account. Bitcoin is 100% still in the store of value stage. It is not ready to be a medium of exchange, and it's not ready to be spent buying everyday things. I still use cash for buying everyday things. It's just we have to. But any chance I get, I'm storing value in Bitcoin. So you got merchants, miners we talked about. Nodes, I'm going to touch on later, but it's the biggest reason why Bitcoin stays in consensus and can't be changed by just anybody. Then you have your Bitcoin exchanges. There's various different kinds of exchanges. You mostly find centralized exchanges versus peer-to-peer decentralized exchanges. The two biggest difference I can say is centralized exchanges ask for much more information. So you have a choice where you can use peer-to-peer or decentralized exchanges where you don't have to give up as much information, and I'd say it's even safer because centralized exchanges, they have a wallet for you. It's called a custodial wallet, and you hold your coins on that exchange, on that wallet. And most of the time, they're not telling you to take your coins off the exchange and hold them in your wallet. They're not telling you that, but it is something that you should do because there's been many examples, and it still happens today, where centralized exchanges get hacked because everybody has their money on that exchange. So it's kind of like a target. But you're starting to see that happen less and less because Bitcoin wallets are being created. So Bitcoin wallet providers are another player on the network that are extremely important because they allow you to hold and send and receive Bitcoins. All of these Bitcoin wallets are free. Like ones that you can download on your phones that are free. There's some that cost money. So there's two kinds of wallets, a hot wallet and a cold wallet. Hot just means you have your money online. Cold just means you have your money offline. Cold wallets tend to cost money. We're at like $50 to $200, $300, but hot wallets are free. You can go on your phone, on your iPhone, your Android, type in Bitcoin wallet, and you'll see a bunch of different Bitcoin wallets come up. Just keep in mind that if you're on Apple, you're not going to have as many options as Android, because I can kind of give you some insight because I work for a wallet company, and my developers told me in Apple, you can only do so many changes without backdooring the phone. So there's certain access you have to have to an iPhone in order to make changes to it, and it just takes much longer. So we're on Android. The Bitcoin wallet company I work for, it's called Samurai Wallet. We're on Android. when we do go to iOS, we plan to go on iOS, it's going to have less features. So just keep that in mind. There are still wallets you can use on Apple, don't get me wrong. But I just think moving forward in the future, I think there's going to be much more available on Android. And it's really easy to buy like a $50 Android that you never really use, kind of keep it offline and only bring it online when you want to make a Bitcoin transaction. That's what I do anyway. But, so, yeah, Bitcoin wallet.
It's like a burner phone.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
That's kind of how I use it. And then we have developers. These are people that are the ones that built Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is literally made from code, cryptography, zeros and ones. I don't understand any of it. I just try and understand the concepts of it. But these guys, these cryptographers, they're the ones that made Bitcoin what it is. And the way Bitcoin actually came out was the idea, it was called a white paper, was just handed out freely on a cryptographer mailing list. So these cryptographers building all kinds of privacy software and whatnot just got this kind of idea, and it was laughed at first because there have been other kinds of cryptocurrency ideas even before Bitcoin, Chaumian, eGold, Hashcash, Bitgold, things like that. But they never took off because there was two problems in money that other cryptocurrencies couldn't solve that Bitcoin solved. One of them was a double spending problem. There was no way to prevent, copying of money or anything like that. But then the second biggest one was, it's kind of a mouthful, it's called the Byzantine Generals problem. And it was a computer science problem that basically, if there's two groups in a room, we can agree on something, no problem. But anytime there's two groups outside of a room, you always have to use a third party to agree on something. There's always a third party there. But Bitcoin solved that where there is no third party necessary. Two groups of people can agree on something outside of a room. And the way you do that is just by trusting the Bitcoin network. Trusting that all the peers, miners, nodes, and users, but the nodes is what verifies everything on the network. As long as, and this happens every 10 minutes, so it's constantly being verified, so you can check too. Like you can go online, there's websites you can see block explorers where you can see all the transactions happening at once, and you can see that they're getting confirmed and verified by the network. Now, with that being said, there have been attacks on the network, absolutely. So there have been times where a group has tried to kind of take over Bitcoin. And the way they did that was they tried to introduce a new set of rules. So because Bitcoin and the network runs on software, and all of these nodes are following the software, everyone has downloaded the same software. Okay, so everyone's running the Bitcoin network software, and it runs on certain instructions. And every 10 minutes, when you download this, you're kind of downloading, what you're downloading is the blockchain. Who has heard of the blockchain? Who's heard that term? Okay, so when I say Bitcoin consists of two things, a currency and a network, blockchain is that network. All blockchain is a chain of blocks. When Bitcoin first came out, these transactions that happened on the network, they were all put into the first Genesis block. So however many transactions happened on that network at that time were put into one block. And once these transactions were in this block, they had to get confirmed by the network. So miners and nodes confirmed these transactions in this block. And these blocks happen every 10 minutes or so. So once this block is confirmed, you can then move on to the next block. Now we have a pretty big blockchain, and a lot of transactions are in it now. So if you wanted to change Bitcoin, you would have to change the cumulative history of Bitcoin.